Welcome to the Ice Guys, presented by the Hockey Podcast Network. Thursday, March the 4th. Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, ready to break down the Thursday NHL card. It is a loaded slate of NHL action on this Thursday. 10 games to break down. Ever so briefly, going to mention what we saw last night. The Leafs, of course, taking advantage of the Oilers again. Another pillar-to-post beatdown of the Oilers, sweeping those three games in Edmonton, outscoring Edmonton 13-1 in the three games. And Connor McDavid held without a point, zero, a big old fat goose egg on the score sheet for Connor McDavid in those three games against the Toronto Maple Leafs. A stunning defensive display from them last night. Colorado did what I expected them to do, bounce back with a nice performance against the San Jose Sharks. They dug in defensively even without Makar and Byram still on the blue line. Much better performance from the Colorado Avalanche last night in their victory against the San Jose Sharks. So those are some of the games that stuck out. Just briefly, we want to try to incorporate the night before on this show on a daily basis moving forward, just to give you a little bit of a thumbnail on some of the observations, things we saw. But definitely the highlight and the headline coming out of last night is this Leafs team. I'll tell you what, the funny thing is none of this is going to matter, Alex, if they have another first-round playoff exit. They're not. Yeah. Nobody's going to do shits that you just steamrolled the Edmonton Oilers in three straight in the early part of March if you're going to go out with a whimper again in the first round of the playoffs later this spring. But I'll tell you what, right now, very impressed with this team. We've got Terry Edelman, the resident Minnesota Wild fan in the chat. Not a good night for the Wild, and I was worried about that because I had a small bet on Minnesota, but I admit I was worried that maybe they let that first game against Vegas get away, and they weren't going to get that second game back. And sure enough, Vegas was sharper. Vegas was better from the opening faceoff, and as a result, they do away with Minnesota 5-1 last night. Alex, what are some of your thoughts and takeaways from last night?
Well, yeah, I was going to start with that game. I mentioned it on the show yesterday that I leaned with Minnesota in that spot as a plus price, but I was going to wait and play it in game, and I'm grateful that I did because I was able to grab that live over 5.5 at plus 150. Like I said, it wasn't thanks to the Wild, though. It was all Vegas pretty much to get the 2 goals late in the third and win 5-1. But like you said, it's something that we see often with teams when they have win streaks of 5 or more. That first game they lose, especially if they're still on the road, they tend to kind of lose that second game, and it's kind of the deflating process. And then once they get back home or play another opponent, things kind of turn around. So I wasn't stunned by that. The 2-1 finish with Washington and Boston, I thought that was a game that we were going to see a ton of goals, and it's just great goaltending, honestly, between Vanacek and Tuukka Rask. There were plenty of chances, and there were a couple of goals that were called back as well, I remember, in that first period. So that game, looked like it was going to go over, but when you have 2 top-tier goalies, sometimes it can look as good as of a number as it is, and then the goalies say otherwise. So interesting night, and you had Arizona with LA. I lost on that one. I had the Kings, and like I said, I shouldn't have gone against that trend that I saw with Antti Raanta. He's now 6-0-1 with 3 shutouts against the LA Kings in his career. He was absolutely sensational, made 40 saves. LA, they were firing the puck. They outshot them almost by a 2-1 margin in that game, but it was Raanta who stood on his head and was absolutely brilliant. So, I was able to cash a couple of live plays in that game as well. So that's the thing. Sometimes when you see a top player or a side that's losing or total losing, use in game to adjust and minimize the loss if you can. I was able to get a next to goal score prop, and if I had one more goal, I would have had the live over in that too, and it would have pretty much been a wash. So that's something I've done this year where not only just trying to add extra profit with these live plays, but I've also sometimes minimized the loss on a play or read that I had wrong going pregame.
That's a great point. Especially, you realize, and that's the way bettors and handicappers should, think and go through that process where, okay, my pregame read wasn't, what I expected it to be. The things didn't play out the way my pregame analysis and handicap of the game, the way I expected. Let's make the adjustment. Let's watch, use the eye test, watch the game, see if we can come up with something live in game. And you're right. And you turned what, it could have been a tough result from that game with the LA bet, and you turned it into something, better and were able to profit with a couple of live in-game wagering opportunities. So yeah, that is a great point. And that's the brilliance, I guess you could say, of the in-game live betting marketplace, is you have that opportunity and that ability to, if you didn't get something right in your pregame analysis of a certain game, you watch the game. Oh, this team's really taking it up to them offensively. I didn't see that coming. And you can make a live bet based on what you've seen to that point. And that is a very good point, something to take advantage of for sure. When you're handicapping these games and you see things aren't starting off or going the way you expected them to early in the game. So a great discussion about last night, but time to turn the page, move on to Thursday. We've got 10 games, huge slate. Let's get it going right now. We'll start with the rematch in the Keystone State rivalry, the Philadelphia Flyers and the Pittsburgh Penguins. We got the Flyers about -120, road favorites in that range. The total 6 once again in this one. The Penguins did what I was kind of worried they would do the other night against Philadelphia. First game without Sidney Crosby, stepping up the entire team and got the job done in that victory against the Flyers. A solid win for Pittsburgh. Now I think the shoe's on the other foot a little bit. I think Philadelphia probably in a good bounce back spot here in this game. Brian Elliott, by the way, back in net tonight for the Flyers, and hard to argue with that. He has been very solid for the Flyers. In fact, lately, dare I say it, it's been a little bit better than Carter Hart. It's not like the Carter Hart's been brutal, but Brian Elliott's been solid. They have a 5-1 record now with him in between the pipes. Philadelphia, we talked about it previously. They're fully healthy. They've pretty much got all their key forwards, key weapons, key offensive producers back in the lineup again. And I think they're in a good bounce back spot here in this hockey game tonight. So I went ahead and laid the $1.20 with the Flyers. And I also am going to get back on the over here in this game with the Penguins and Flyers being just one over fiesta after another. When these two teams collide, it's been heavily trended over the total. It cashed another over with these two teams the other night, and I think we'll get another one here. So I'm on Philly and over the total in this one. Alex, what's your thoughts? Flyers, Penguins.
Yeah, I'm on Philly as well. I grabbed minus $1.20 about maybe an hour ago. And like you said, Brian Elliott's playing much better, I would say, than Carter Hart at the moment. And I'll make that adjustment in my goalie rankings. It's pretty much, I would say, almost the same kind of price right now, or at least maybe a slight price difference between the two. But Hart has struggled on the road. We talked about that for a while now. He's now 3-3-1 on the road, so it makes sense to go obviously with the just in a back-to-back scenario with Elliott anyway. But Elliott's the guy. I think even when they go back home, they need to perhaps give Elliott the next start as well because he's been playing just that much better. And Pittsburgh's a team that, like you said, been kind of hard for them to string together wins. And now maybe tonight is when they feel the absence of Sidney Crosby a bit more than in the last game where you said, everybody kind of, had that next man up mentality. Some of those guys like Brian Rust and Kasperi Kapanen, we saw score. You don't expect those guys to just put up a goal and assist every single night. I mean, they're solid in their own right, but, they could take a step back here. So I like the Flyers here, money line.
All right, Alex and I both liking the Flyers here, money line -120 in this Keystone State rivalry matchup. Detroit and Carolina, we've got the Hurricanes, -300 road favorites. Not a cheap 1-3 if you want to lay it with Carolina here. 5.5 the total, overshaded at -120 in this game. Look, it is a gigantic, and I don't know if I don't think this is hyperbole. I don't think this is understating it. This is a gigantic flat spot for Carolina. Look at the grueling road with good, tough teams, big games that they've played lately. They played Tampa a bunch. They played Florida a bunch. They had a game against Nashville on the road that they took care of business and won. And now you're back home and you're playing the lowly, Detroit Red Wings, who are starting to look like the bottom feeder. And after weeks of, putting up a good fight here and there, the Red Wings, man, they've just had their brains beat in a couple games in a row here, Chicago and Columbus, and these back-to-back losses that they've suffered. It's a dubious spot for Carolina, but I can't back Detroit against the far inferior team, scuffling mightily right now. Thomas Greiss has had a dreadful season, and I don't know if he'll be back in net. I think you could see Bernier, but it is Alex Nedeljkovic confirmed for Carolina, and this kid's getting better. There is no doubt. There is improvement being made in Alex Nedeljkovic's game, and he's getting the even amount of starts now with Reimer. And in fact, I think Rod Brind'Amour is starting to, lean a little bit more toward giving Nedeljkovic even more rope, even more games in between the pipes for this Hurricanes team, and he's earned it in my mind. And he's played well. He played really well in his last start for the Hurricanes against Florida. He's the main reason they were able to win that game in overtime. I'm impressed. We know Niederreiter, Svechnikov, Aho, Trocheck. My goodness, how good has he been as well for the Carolina Hurricanes? So, yeah, the spot's very tricky. I want no part of Carolina laying that price, but I don't want equally want no part of Detroit at all. So for me, this is just a game. Stay away. Carolina probably wins, but hard to find the value. What do you think here, Alex? Red Wings, Hurricanes.
Yeah, if you want to attack this game, this is definitely one to look with live wagering. That's probably the only thing I would recommend, if anything at all. Like you said, looks to be a flat spot for Carolina, but there's no way you can back Detroit right now with the way that they've played. Also, these two teams did split in the first two meetings back in the beginning of the season when they faced one another. So, there's a bit of I guess you could say a slight revenge angle for Carolina. They lost the second of that meeting, but that was a while ago. So, it just, you want to kind of read and see what happens in the first maybe 5 or 10 minutes and then make a play from there. But I'm going to stay away from this game altogether.
All right, we got Winnipeg and Montreal. Remember, these two teams met in Winnipeg just last week. Now we're getting the return series with the Jets and the Habs in Montreal. We've got Montreal minus 155 to minus 160 home favorites. Total 5.5 shade of the over. Man, do I want to take Winnipeg here. I really do. I mean, this price is kind of crazy, to be honest. I know Montreal's at home, and I know they got a win the other night against Ottawa. But boy, I mean, Winnipeg just beat them twice in Winnipeg. And yeah, revenge, you could say. But boy, for a Montreal team that just fired their coach, and there's a reason for that, they haven't played the greatest of hockey. Like, are we really going to all of a sudden say a win against Ottawa and all of a sudden things are A-okay again here in Montreal? It's just shocking to me that they're laying that kind of price. I haven't bet Winnipeg yet, but man alive, am I tempted. I mean, to be honest with you, plus 140 here with this team, and I was on Winnipeg as a best bet the other night. Bounce back performance for them against Vancouver. They're playing solid hockey. I know people, and rightfully so, people are questionable about this Jets blue line. Okay, that's the weakness for them. It's, Josh Morrissey is capable, but they've got a lot of youngsters back there, Logan Stanley, and it's just a blue line that's, trying to get themselves some more cohesion, and sometimes they're susceptible to some breakdowns and gas, but who the hell isn't, at times in the NHL? And when they have had those breakdowns, they've got the goaltenders, Hellebuck, Vezina Trophy winner, Brossoit, when he's had the net this year, he's been very good. So to me, there's a lot to be proven here for Montreal. Very interesting, and I'm pleasantly surprised by this if I'm a Montreal fan, that Jake Allen's going to be in net. So maybe Dominic Ducharme is going to be back and forth with these two guys, Carey Price and Jake Allen, and say, you know what? Now that I'm the head coach, I'm going to let you guys dictate who should get the majority of the starts moving forward. You're going to be the guys that figure that out based on performance, based on merit. So maybe Ducharme is going in that direction. That would be nice to see, as I think Jake Allen has earned the right to at least compete for more starts for this Montreal Canadiens team, and we'll see if he's able to get the job done. This is not a back-to-back between these two teams. They don't play again until Saturday. So this is legitimately a decision by Dominic Ducharme that, hey, I'm going to give Allen the start. Maybe I'll go back and forth between Price and Allen, and whoever plays better is probably going to get more starts down the road. So very interesting, and pleasantly surprised that he went this direction with his goaltending. But I haven't bet it yet, but don't expect it maybe to be added to the card in just a bit, especially if there's some more money that comes in on Montreal. I know they got the win against Ottawa. They're playing with revenge, but I don't know if they should be laying this number. In fact, I'm pretty confident they shouldn't be laying this kind of price in this game. So definitely lean Winnipeg here. Alex, what do you think? Jets, Canadiens?
Yeah, the only way I would be looking here would be Winnipeg. You look, like you said, Montreal, okay, one win against Ottawa. That's not going to, turn everything around. They're still out. Josh Anderson is listed as out for tonight as well. So that's a big factor. Was contributing pretty heavily to the offense. And like you said, the fact that it's Jake Allen in that instead of Carey Price, this is Carey Price. I think we all would be, running to the window right now to take Winnipeg, but just a little bit hesitant because Allen has been playing, much better than Price as of late. So like you said, this might be a late ad if you can get a better price, maybe even one that you watch, and look for something, in game, in the first 5 minutes. Like you said, sometimes you could, and that's something you can do too, especially with more so with a favorite, but even with an underdog where, say let's say it closes at 130, you might be able to get up to 140, 145 if the pace is leaning toward Montreal's favor, but they aren't doing anything. Then you could jump and get 10 cents higher live for the full game on Winnipeg. So that's something to use their advantage with live betting too. It's not always just looking for a change in pace, but you can just get a better price early if you like something with a side or a total.
Yeah, that's definitely sound advice for sure if you're going to get involved in the live betting market. We bring in our colleague, Jimmy Murphy. He's joined us here on the Ice Guys show. Jimmy, welcome in. What do you think here? Winnipeg, Montreal. Is Montreal overpriced here?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, they've got to win more for me to think that that's not overpriced right now. They got to still prove their stripes here. And, I don't think they're out of the woods by any means yet. I mean, let's face it, guys, they still only won 2-1 over the Ottawa Senators. And they made a goalie in his first game look like a superstar. They're lucky they still won. If what's his name, who was it, Branson, doesn't take that stupid penalty and give them that 2-goal swing, like with those power plays, Ottawa probably wins that game. So I don't think they're out of the woods. I just wouldn't touch this game right now. I'm with Alex. Maybe something you look at live, but right now, even the over-under, if it was 6, I would go under. But at 5.5, I'm just going to stay away.
All right, we got the Florida Panthers and Nashville Predators next. Actually, you know what? We've got 7 o'clock games down at the bottom of the rotation, so we'll do those. I like to go in order of the start time. So Buffalo, New York Islanders. We've got the Islanders minus 185 home favorites. The total, 5 here in this game, shaded to the over. People catching on, odds makers, bettors alike catching on that Buffalo can't put a puck in the ocean right now. It's just been a brutal run for them offensively. They lose the other night to the Rangers 3-2. I mean, they've been held to 0-1, 2 goals in the majority of their recent games. Jimmy talked about it the other day on the show. Jack Eichel's kind of looking for his way out, I think, of Buffalo, and the Sabres may capitulate to that and maybe get a trade done for Jack Eichel before the deadline. But look, he's done not much. He finally scored the other night against the Rangers, but not enough to get his team the victory. Taylor Hall's been just non-existent. Can't find him with a telescope on the ice offensively right now for this team. It's just been a mess, and they're 5-on-5 offense. Like, if they don't score on the power play, they don't score at all. That's Buffalo's season right there. They're facing the Islanders. The Islanders dummied them in Buffalo. Like, it was just recently they played in Buffalo a couple times, and the Islanders were just all over them, shut them down completely. Like, Alex had a rough beat the other night with the Islanders on the puck line. I'm going to be on the Islanders on the puck line here tonight, and hopefully I avoid that kind of shenanigan late in the game. That was rough. You deserved a better fate if you had the Islanders puck line against New Jersey the other night. But I think they can win this game by 2 goals or more. They beat Buffalo twice by margin the last couple times they played them in Buffalo. I think they're able to get the job done here. I think Buffalo actually did beat them once in Brooklyn or Long Island as well earlier this season. But I just think Buffalo is just absolute free fall, absolute tailspin. The price is reasonable here. It's about plus 140 to plus 145 with the Islanders laying the 1.5. That's what I'm doing here in this game. Alex, what do you think here? Sabres, Islanders.
Yeah, I'm going to go with that as well. The Islanders on the puck line. Like you said, the bad beat the other night, but this is a New Jersey team that's a little bit better, where Buffalo is just, like you said, they're in a tailspin. Like I said, I don't like to use the term auto fade that often, but they're getting really close, if not on that spot at this point. Like I said, once they move Eichel, that might actually be the point where you just, like I said, find some kind of way to bet against them, be it team total, puck line, money line, anything, just whoever they're playing. So they're getting close to that mark. And like I said, I'll go with the puck line here. I feel a little more comfortable with the Islanders cashing that even than they did the other night.
And that's the thing, too. If we get later in the season and Buffalo's still struggling and they keep losing and then they dismantle the team at the trade deadline and trade a bunch of guys, you're not going to be laying any sort of, you're not going to be getting any sort of decent price to lay against this Buffalo Sabres team. You're going to have to look in those alternative methods, like an alternative puck line, a team total. You're going to have to look at those derivative markets because, we're already starting to see, they're starting to price Buffalo like a disaster right now. What are they, minus 185 at this point in this game? Probably could only go up from here. But Jimmy, what do you think here, Buffalo Islanders?
Yeah, I'm with you guys. Jimmy puck line on this one for sure. And yeah, let's just fade against the Sabres right now. They had just it's kind of tough to watch, really. I mean, it's probably worse when you're in Buffalo, but it's tough to watch from afar right now because they are just an organization that's falling apart. Well, I guess they were already falling apart, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, no doubt. So it looks like a consensus here. Ice Guys consensus. Islanders puck line here, minus 1.5, plus 140. It's amazing the Pagulas, Terry and Kim, they see everything they're doing right with the Bills and say, maybe we should do stuff like that with the Sabres. I guess they haven't clued in on that yet. Maybe it's like what works in football doesn't work in hockey, but it's amazing they own both of those teams. When you're seeing just how the Bills have done it right from top to bottom for the last 3-4 years, solid GM, good head coach, stable foundation, family atmosphere, an inclusive atmosphere with the Bills. I mean, everybody says that it's like a family environment, and then the Sabres, it's like we're getting treated like dog shit, and all these stories you're hearing, and bad management, bad trades, bad on ice product, bad performance. It's just unbelievable to see the polar opposites, the Bills football team and the Sabres hockey team in the same city, owned by the same two people. Pretty amazing.
Yeah, but it was pretty much a flip-flop of that, if you go back 15, 20 years ago. I mean, the Sabres were winning. They made it, they were always in the playoffs, made it to a cup final. And the Bills were the team that kind of just, was dwindling, kind of riding on that, the 4 years that they went to Super Bowl and lost. And things kind of fell apart for them. So it's kind of interesting how both franchises really have turned since the turn of the century, to be honest. It's kind of, a bit strange.
Yeah, I mean, it's that tells you you're not always going to get it right with it as an owner of, especially if you're an owner of multiple teams. Difficult to do that. Next up, Rangers Devils. We've got the Rangers slight road favorites here, -110, -115 road favorites, total 5.5, 5, depending on where you look here in this game. Devils have really hit the wall a little bit. It's been a rough stretch of hockey for them. Really tough offensively to find goal scoring lately. And Nico Hischier downgraded to doubtful for the game tonight. That's a concern. The captain of the Devils already having trouble lately scoring goals, and now you could be without Nico Hischier, your newly minted captain. It's not going to make things easier. I think there might be an opportunity now. Like they only beat Buffalo, okay, the Rangers the other night. That there is some truth to that. It's not like they beat a world beater. But the Rangers have had a pulse lately. They battled Philadelphia. They hung tough with Boston. They beat up Boston actually in the first game against the Bruins, and then the Bruins got him back. But I'm starting to see a little sign of life with the Rangers. I like the way Shesterkin's played lately. I don't like the way the Devils are trending. They're not finding any offense right now. I like the Rangers here. Again, this is now a price that you may not have gotten, Rangers versus Devils, because everybody was sky high on the Rangers coming into the season. This is a pretty good price here, I think, considering, if the Rangers get off to a really good start this season and the Devils maybe don't quite do what they did for a period of time, Rangers could be laying $1.30 or $1.40 in this game, not around even money. So I like the Rangers here, -115 in that price range, and I would lean under the total as well. It's just difficult. Take New Jersey over right now with the problems they're having finding the back of the net. Alex, what do you think here, Rangers Devils?
It's a complete stay away game for me. Like I said, this is a game that looked like it would trend to the under based on the numbers, and especially, like I said, with how lethargic we've seen the scoring be for New Jersey. But then you look at the track record between these two teams, 10-1-1 in the over the last 12 meetings. So, this is a rivalry matchup after all. So, maybe, these two teams could wake up and bring the best out of each other and have a high scoring game. But I'm not going to stick around and bet anything to find that out. So I'm going to pass on the side of total.
Yeah, usually when it comes to that, like with the Philly-Pittsburgh, you've got the series history that says over, but at least with Philly and Pittsburgh, they've been scoring lately. So that's why I went with the over with those two teams. With these two teams, yeah, you have the series history going over, but the Rangers aren't still lighting it up, and the Devils just aren't doing much at all offensively. So it's much more difficult for me to just bank on the over and the Rangers Devils based on the series history when the current form says these are two teams that are generally involved in lower scoring games and not exactly lighting it up offensively nightly. What do you think here, Jimmy? New York, New Jersey?
I'm with Alex on this. This is a game I'm going to pass on. I might look at it live and see how it's going and follow that along. But right now, I mean, I just can't handle the way they are. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't see our comments are coming up now on the from the YouTube. Pretty cool.
That was actually an accident on my part. Accidental.
Oh, okay. You look
Not
good.
that Terry didn't make a good comment there, but it doesn't need to put that. Yeah.
Beautiful. Anyhow, but yeah, this is just one of those games you can't tell. I mean, yes, they go over a lot, but you make a good point there, Ian. It's just tough to tell in the immediate what they might do.
Yeah, definitely. All right, back now to the game I was going to talk about a few minutes ago. Florida and Nashville. We've got Florida -130 to -135. Road favorites here in Music City. Total 5.5. You know where I'm going in this game, guys. You already know. You didn't even have to tune into the show to figure out what I'd like in this game. What have we seen from Nashville? What have we seen from them against any kind of good team this year? Not a whole lot. They get blown out by Tampa. The one game, they actually beat Florida once in Florida, and it was that miracle comeback game. That was it. And they've won some games against Detroit. They've won some games against Chicago. They've won some games against Columbus, who were struggling when they played the Jackets. And then they played Carolina, a really good team the other night, and they're down 3-0 in the second period. I don't want Nashville against any kind of good team. I don't think they can beat good teams. I don't think they're good enough to beat good teams. And Florida now, I believe, for the first time this year, is off consecutive losses in a row. 2 losses in a row for the first time all year for Florida. But they should have won that last game. That was a steal. That was a theft by Alex Nedeljkovic for Carolina in that game the other night against the Hurricanes, the game that Carolina won in overtime. They were only in that game because of Alex Nedeljkovic. They had over 40 shots on goal in that game. Florida deserved a better fate in that one. I think they take care of business here against the Nashville Predators. Minus 130, reasonable chalk to lay here with the Panthers. Better team. Nashville, again, we saw what they did against Carolina. Any kind of good team, they're not stepping up in class all that well. And it can't be good for the dressing room and John Hines' team either that you're hearing Arvidsson in trade rumors, Forsberg in trade rumors, Granlund in trade rumors right now for this team. That they're looking to maybe break this thing up a little bit. That's not good for keeping people believing that, hey, let's make a run here. That doesn't bode well for that kind of belief. Alex, what do you think here? Florida, Nashville.
Yeah, I'm on Florida. I got regulation plus $1.05 earlier today. And I almost took the puck line, but I wanted to play it a little bit safer and just get the plus price out of that. But they said this is a Nashville team that's completely in disarray right now, and you can't trust them to beat any team that's not named Detroit or Columbus. So basically, it's, like I said, it's a Florida team that's got a good offense off of back-to-back losses. Bobrovsky and net, I think this is a good sign moving forward with Florida. So I like them to win in regulation.
Yeah, and I don't mind Bobrovsky being in net. He's playing really much better. His last 2 or 3 starts, he's been a whole lot better in net after some struggles early this year. And we know last year he was not very good. But Sergei Bobrovsky, goalie Bob, as I like to call him, is starting to come around here for Florida, play better. And again, this Nashville offense is not exactly the 80s Oilers or the 90s Penguins or any of those great offensive teams we've seen in the past. Jimmy, what do you think here, Florida, Nashville?
Jimmy Puckline on the Panthers here, brother. I like them to take care of business easily. And I would lean on the total, too. I would lean to the under, actually. Like you said, Bobrovsky's starting to find his groove, and that's a good sign for the Panthers.
All right, good stuff here. So Panthers puck line, second puck line bet of the show here for Jimmy in this one. So, yeah, I mean, we're all in the same boat. I mean, you put Nashville up against one of these better teams. They're going to struggle in those situations, and we kind of think that Florida, to me, continues to be. They got completely robbed of winning that game against Carolina. You couldn't have dominated the game more than Florida did against Carolina the other night, which is why I also said earlier that I thought Nedeljkovic is starting to come around. He was in net for Carolina in that game where he had to face over 40 shots from the Panthers. So. Florida deserved a better fate. Now with the 2 losses in a row, a good spot for them and definitely a beatable opponent to bounce back. Tampa Bay and Chicago next up. We've got the Lightning minus 210 road favorites, total 5.5, 6 across the board here. Now, this is fascinating. This is why you have to compartmentalize and break seasons into segments, break teams into segments here. We know early in the season, Chicago faced Tampa Bay and they got drilled. They got their teeth kicked in those games. But Chicago then is not Chicago now. Chicago now is a pretty decent hockey team right now. They're playing good. Patrick Kane is in the MVP conversation. He's been marvelous. They're getting great, Pius Suter, terrific. Kubalik's gotten it going. DeBrinket's having a bounce back offensive season. And even defensively, they're holding up well enough. Lankinen's been a bit of a revelation in net for the Blackhawks. It's going to be a much tougher Chicago to beat this time around for Tampa. Now, Tampa's just on a complete roll right now. It's tough to stand in their way, but you're talking about minus 210 here on the road. Chicago's been a good home team this year. On the road against Chicago, they already beat up Chicago pretty good. There's that little pit in my gut feel that I want to sprinkle on the Blackhawks here. I'm considering it. It's plus 190 in some spots, plus 185 at least at the majority of books with Chicago. I think this is one night where, this could be Trap City. I think if you like Tampa Bay And Chicago is playing. Look, you want to be playing Tampa Bay when you've got some confidence, when you think your game is in a good enough place where you can challenge and threaten a team like the Tampa Bay Lightning. I think Chicago might be in that zone right now. If obviously we know Vasilevsky's been awesome, and it's not going to be easy to beat him with how good he has been for the Lightning, especially of late. But yeah, for me, this is take a shot with Chicago, a small shot. It won't be more than that. But for me, it's take a shot with Chicago here or pass the game. I think Tampa Bay, in this spot here, when they played a bunch of games with the Carolinas and the Floridas and a rematch with Dallas in the Stanley Cup Finals rematch. Now you're playing Chicago, and it could be a little bit of a different story for them. Although you could also look at it and say Tampa's well aware of the surprise that Chicago's been this year, and maybe they want to send a little message that, hey, not on our watch. This surprise story is going to be, we're going to close the book on that surprise story tonight. So fascinating game. I can't wait to watch. This is one of the games I'm most looking forward to watching, but my lean is to Chicago here. Alex, how do you think your Blackhawks do tonight? Big matchup here with the defending champs.
Yeah, it's a huge matchup. Obviously, we got the Hawks, just 3 points behind Tampa for the division lead, and they play is the first of 3 games tonight, tomorrow, and then Saturday afternoon. So this is a huge, spot for the Hawks right now. If they want to make a run at, being a playoff team or hell, even trying to win the division, it starts with this game right here. But it's one I'm going to stay away from. I might look at playing this in game. He said the price is awfully high. If it wasn't for the fact that Tampa was playing so well right now, they're one on a 5-game win streak. They've scored 17 goals in that span. I would definitely be all over Chicago in this spot because they're rested. They've been playing well. Lankinen starting in net. He's been the guy that's been carrying this team throughout the year. But the way that this, like you said, Chicago's better now than they were at the beginning of the season, but so is Tampa Bay. So if both those teams improve from what we saw, obviously, in the beginning of January, that still means Tampa's still got a lot more speed and skill overall to win this hockey game. So I'm going to watch it for sure and maybe play something in game. But like I said, if I had to play a side right now, I would lean towards Chicago.
Yeah, definitely. Tampa Bay has just been awesome. It's never easy to go against this bunch, but yeah, they're feeling it right now. Does the game go over the total? It might. 5.5 in some spots. That's kind of interesting. Now that it's down like 6, I wasn't going to get involved, but it's dropped down to 5.5 this total in a lot of spots. It's kind of leaning that way because you look at Tampa. They played Dallas. Okay, Dallas can't put a puck in the ocean right now, and a lot of low-scoring games with them. I get it, but now Chicago's going to go up and down the ice a little bit more. Could see the game going over the total. That's definitely another lean I would have in this one. Jimmy, how do you see it going here? Lightning Hawks.
See, I'm going the other way on the over-under on the total there, Ian, just because look at Vasilevsky right now. I mean, I think he's reaching some record numbers in terms of a shutout streak right now for the Tampa Bay Lightning. He's been lights out. And, yeah, maybe they're not playing the most high-scoring teams right now, but you can't take away what he's doing there. So just for the sole sake of his goaltending and Lankinen for Chicago, who's been great, I like the under in this. But it is interesting to see it at 5.5. And, you look at the board today, it's a lot more 5.5s than where we've been used to in the last couple of weeks. So I think that's a little interesting trend to keep an eye on.
Yeah, scoring is, slowed down a little bit in recent games. That's definitely got something to do with it as well, no doubt. Columbus, and speaking of Dallas, they're hosting Columbus. We've got the Stars -150 home favorites, 5.5, the total shaded to the under. I said this with our boy Morency last night on his show, the late night show. What is Dallas doing laying -150 right now with the way they're playing? Like, what are they doing laying this price? I mean, they can't put a puck in the ocean. They miss Seguin and Radulov. Nobody else can get anything going offensively. Defensively, they've been taking a little bit of a step back. But right now, the big problem is they don't generate anything. Like, it's not only they're not scoring, it's a trying endeavor to get a thrust of offensive zone time right now for this Dallas Stars team. That's the issue, or get a decent chance, a decent opportunity for crying out loud on the net is a chore right now for the Dallas Stars. I'm on Columbus here, and the one thing I like about Columbus, okay, they beat up Detroit. Detroit's awful. I get it. That's not showing me much of anything. But John Tortorella went to the media and said, I feel good about the job security. He sort of calmed the waters a little bit with the speculation and the team struggling. And he says, I'm going to keep it up. I believe in the guys. I'm going to keep coaching them the way I think it's best. I believe in our group. We did it last year. We did it 2 years ago, playoff teams, both years. I believe we can get this thing going again. Sure enough, now it was Detroit. I get it. That's always the caveat here in this little diatribe of mine, that it was Detroit that they beat up the other night. But that's a good positive. It wasn't just that they beat Detroit. They put the boots to them. It's a good sign. It's Dallas that I don't trust them as favorites right now. I think it's maybe a little momentum and confidence back in the Columbus dressing room, getting that win under their belt. And you can't tell me that they can't. Maybe they don't, but you can't tell me that there's absolutely no way they can go in there to Dallas and get this victory tonight with how the Stars are struggling to find any sort of offense. So for me, it's Columbus plus 130 in this game. Would lean under as well. It's hard to bet Dallas over. Lean in the under with the under as well, but I'm on the Blue Jackets here at plus 130. Alex, what are your thoughts here? Columbus, Dallas.
Yeah, I want nothing to do with this game at all. Like I said, Dallas has been in a complete free fall. We saw Columbus finally get a win, but that was against Detroit. Like you said, nothing to really write home about. So these two teams seem to be trending downward. Maybe even take a shot with the regulation draw. I wouldn't be shocked to see this would possibly be 1-1 or 2-2 after 60 minutes. But I'm just going to pass it.
Yeah, as that game went along against Tampa, yeah, they did get a little bit more chances, and Vasilevsky had to make some good saves. The early part of the game, though, it was like they were just, it's like there was a force field or just some brick wall at the opponent blue line, and they were barely able to penetrate it and get past it. They finally did in the third period, but to me, there's just not a lot of confidence, and when your whole team is just struggling with confidence and scoring, makes you difficult in this kind of price range to be trustworthy as chalk. What do you think here, Jimmy? Columbus, Dallas.
Yeah, I'm going to do another under here, guys. I guess I'm just under the influence of unders today, my friends. I don't know. Both these teams struggling right now, but I think that the way Dallas is playing, they're desperate, they're scrappy, they're going to tighten up defensively. That's usually what teams do when they're really trying to turn things around. They pay attention to the simple things, the basics. They go back to that. So that's why I see more of a tight defensive game. So give me the under here.
All right, next up, we've got Ottawa-Calgary. We've got the Flames minus 185, home favorites, total 6 shaded to the under in this one. Not a good 3 games for Calgary and Ottawa. They only won 1 of the 3, sandwiched in between a couple of losses. The game where David Riddick gives up a half clapper from the center ice line in the first game of the 3. They lose that one. They do bounce back on Saturday, but then they fall right back and lose on Monday night to the Senators again. And this Calgary team is just not a team I'm looking to lay a price with. Let's put it that way at minus 180 here in this game. Now, I do know there's a lot of people that like Calgary here. It's, they've been off since that Monday loss to Ottawa, whereas Ottawa had to play against Montreal on Tuesday the next night. And now Montreal's flying out, or Ottawa, I should say, is flying out to Calgary, 3rd game in 4 nights. It's a scheduling and situational edge for Calgary. But that doesn't mean I'm laying minus 185 with them. I'm not. I think if you like Calgary, it's got to be puck line or bust, but can you trust them to win by margin against anybody right now either? I can't. The one thing about Ottawa is they're scrappy. They seem to hang around in every game. Even the Montreal game the other night, that was a pretty bad scheduling spot. And there they are right in that game, 2-1. It became 3-1 with an empty net goal. But there they are, 1 shot away from tying that game late in the 3rd period, this Ottawa team. Batherson's been great. Kachuk's been great. All their youngsters have played well. Stützle has always had chances, it seems, every game for them. Shabbat's been leading the way on the blue line. The blue line's not good. Eric Branson almost single-handedly said, "Here you go, Montreal, take the game." And with his bad defensive play and bad penalties that he took. Other than that, as Jimmy said, they did have a chance to beat Montreal the other night. So this is a game I'm not involved in. It's a pass. But it's just, for me right now, better beware with Calgary in this kind of price. Alex, what are you doing, if anything, here with this game, Senators and Flames?
I'm not going to play it, but this is definitely one where if you do like Calgary, I would say wait for something in game. That 190 will go down tremendously if these two teams don't do anything, which that's kind of how I would expect this game to start off a little slower paced. So you can probably get a better price money line in game than you can right now. He said you can't trust him to win by margin, and regulation could be a bit dicey as well because I can see these two teams, playing close late. If they're tied and playing close late, could easily go into OT. So that's the only recommendation I would give. But like I said, I don't like this. There's other spots I like more than this game tonight.
All right, Jimmy, what are you thinking here? Ottawa versus Calgary.
Well, just note, too, in case our viewers and listeners haven't seen, Darren Drager reporting the last hour, Sam Bennett is a healthy scratch, coach's decision just to note that for the Calgary Flames. Got a feeling he might not be a Calgary Flame by the end of this week. Just a hunch. So you look at this. I mean, I kind of look at this as Calgary being in the same spot that Montreal was in against Ottawa. That last game they played them there. It's a must win for them. I mean, let's face it, guys. This team is completely underachieved. People are giving up on them up in Calgary. People are starting to say, you know what, they're mirage. They didn't do what they need to do in the offseason. So I look at this as really a gut check game for the Calgary Flames. I'm going to go with them. I'm going to give them a Jimmy Puck line here, and I'm also going to take the under on this. 2 official plays here. I think they clamp it down. I like the way Ottawa's been playing defensively as well. They've been getting goaltending both from Murray and now this kid Decord. So I see, not too many goals in this, but this is a gut check game for Calgary. They got to win it. I think they will, like Montreal did the other night.
And they do get the huge boost of Jacob Markstrom being back tonight for the Calgary Flames as well, which is definitely going to help. David Riddick had a couple games there where he kind of shocked us with, brilliant goaltending, but he also didn't shock us with some shitty goaltending on occasion in the last few games as well. So they're happy to
marbles too.
Headbutting doors. Yeah, that's give yourself permanent brain damage that way.
Yeah.
Nevertheless, definitely funny to see his antics when things don't go well for David Riddick. That's for sure. It's just
him and Bennington would be a cool tandem, huh?
Yeah, exactly. Which guy can spaz out and wig out?
The Kraken signed both of them, and they crack every game. There you go.
Yeah, right.
That would be cracked up in, not cracked. Cracked up. Yeah.
I need a coffee. Sorry, guys.
No, that's all right. Yeah, but Seattle, of course, don't forget, guys, they're coming into the league next season, Seattle Kraken. By the way, Seattle Kraken, kudos to them. They brought in a really good guy as their television voice, Johnny Forsland, who got blackballed out of Carolina. That was absolutely pathetic that they're cheap ass buggers in Carolina that didn't renegotiate the contract with John Forsland there, who does a great job. Hey, what do you say? And that's hockey, baby. And you hear all these great quotes. He does a really, really good job. He's a really solid hockey announcer, and see him get the job in Seattle. They've got a good tandem now, television and radio. Forsland and Everett Fitzhugh. They're going to be definitely a really good tandem there in Seattle for their games next year. So congrats to John Forsland. Well-deserved. Got a raw deal with Carolina. And I think he's still kind of hurt by how it ended there. He was with that franchise since the mid-90s. Hell, he was with them when they were still in Hartford, in the mid-90s. That's when he started.
He was there when Pierre Maguire coached there.
Yeah.
That's how long ago he was there.
That's why he's always
about it last night. Yeah, they were talking about it last night on
the
broadcast of the Bruins Cap. So.
Yeah, they have a history. You're right. John Forsland's first year at Hartford Whalers television voice. Pierre Maguire was the head coach of the Hartford Whalers that year. And man, Pierre got the Whalers when they were just in a world of hurt. They were just a good hockey team at all.
And Sean Burke went down, I think, with an injury that year too. And
those were the last couple of years before they moved to Carolina, and it was rough for that franchise, no question.
Guys, I have some stories. Another time, another place. I'll tell you stories. Going games at the old Civic Center in Hartford, man, because it's like an hour and 15 tops from Boston, guys. If you just go down the Pike and then you get on 84, and the tickets were maybe at least 50% cheaper to go to a Bruins Whalers game in Hartford than it was to go at the old Boston Garden because got better. Yeah, so especially then when they put the new place up, so it was a good time. We had a lot of wars in the stands.
The environment for those Hartford games, because I remember I was 8 years old at the time, watching the early 90s Whalers when they had a couple, like they had first round exits. They really didn't get beyond that in the playoffs. But when I saw a rare playoff game in Hartford, it was a good atmosphere for those games.
I wonder if any of our viewers can tell us what the theme song was when they scored a goal. For Hartford.
We know it. It's a good one.
I'll give a little. Let's see if they get it here.
Yeah. Howie Meeker. Yeah. Golly Gee. Yeah. Golly Gee Whiz. Yeah. Recently passed away, of course, Howie Meeker. But he had lived a hell of a life. Good life, long life, no question. So, yeah, that's kind of amazing. Forsland, first year announcer there. Pierre Maguire, head coach of the Hartford Whalers that same season. And now here they are working television together for NBC. Sports Network on a lot of games. So Pretty interesting parallel there. Next up, final game. Here we are, Leafs and Canucks. Leafs in action again tonight after finishing off just a pillar-to-post shellacking, essentially, the Edmonton Oilers. Toronto minus 160. Road favorites, total 6.5 here, shaded to the over in this game. Now, this is one of those games where I think everything's on the table from a goaltending standpoint for the Leafs. Do you see Freddie again on the second night of back-to-backs, or do they tread it cautiously with him just coming back from injury? Is Jack Campbell ready to come back from the recent injury he had? We don't know that. If he is, you might see him. And if they don't want to put Freddie in on a back-to-back off his injury, and if Jack's not ready to go, you could see Michael Hutchinson in net tonight for the Leafs. So it could go a bunch of different ways with who's in net for them against Vancouver. This has the makings of a potential. Look, I am not betting against Toronto, but it's got that feel to it, doesn't it? That after just beating the crap out of Edmonton 3 games in a row, dominating them, here's that just lay an egg here against Vancouver. It's got that feel to it. Problem is Vancouver's not any good. They're terrible right now, but they did beat Winnipeg. Don't forget that. They did beat Winnipeg, that first of the 2 against the Jets. But, boy, I just can't get there. As much as this is not the spot I'm looking at back Toronto, I can't get there with Vancouver. They're just so – and they just got destroyed by Toronto in every game that they played against the Leafs earlier this season in Toronto. And they're just playing too well. They're just playing too well, Toronto. So, but – for me, it would be Vancouver or passes, but it just I don't have the confidence I need in Vancouver that, hey, they can beat this Leaf team playing at the level they're playing right now. I just can't. So pass for me. Maybe I get on the over because I think now Toronto, they got Matthews back. Their offense, came to life last night. Vancouver is probably going to struggle to defend them. And if it is Hutchinson in net, there's a chance Vancouver could get on the board. So if Hutchinson's in net, maybe I look over the total here of 6.5. Alex, any thoughts here? Leafs, Canucks.
No, I would lean with anything with Toronto team total over. I mean, they've absolutely destroyed the Canucks the last 5 meetings. And like you said, the way they got their offense rolling now, they could easily carry that momentum over from that Edmonton series right into this game tonight. So I'll stay away from it, but it's just a lean with Leafs team total over.
All right, just a lean to the Leaf team total over 3.5 in this one. Jimmy, what are your thoughts here with Toronto and Vancouver? Is this like Colorado, San Jose for Monday night all over again?
It is. And by the way, they're rolling in with the brass bonanza. Great job, guys, there in the chat room. They know their stuff. I knew you guys would get that fast. Great tune. Yes and no. You know what I mean? Like, I'm with you, Ian. It does. If there was ever a spot for a letdown, this is it right now. And everyone would forgive the Leafs after what they just did in Edmonton. I mean, they'd be like, whatever, just mail it in. Who cares? But I worry about it because of what you said, because of who Vancouver is, and because of how good the Toronto Maple Leafs are playing right now and how good they've become. So for that reason, I think they come out and they have a slow start. But there's a good chance maybe, you bet it live, they get back into the game. But I will, and I'm going to make this my best play. Give me the Vancouver Canucks regulation line in the first period. You can get some really good value on it. You catch the guys coming in. They probably had a couple pops on the plane last night celebrating. They just swept Connor McDavid. Might be a little slow in the first period. So give me the Canucks in the first period. And I would be almost so far as to lean to the Leafs to actually end up winning the game. But I like the Canucks to come out strong.
All right. So that is basically Canucks first period here for Jimmy.
You get it at plus 215. Yep.
To get the job done. And that's not money line first period either. No. That's like the half goal. That's laying the half goal for them to have the lead in the game after the first 20 minutes. That's what Jimmy is looking at here in this game between the Leafs and Canucks. So, and that you're right, that price of that is pretty damn good. You look at the first period here, alternative puck line here, or first period, alternative. You're looking at plus 225 in some spots. If you like Vancouver to take the lead into the first intermission. That's how that cashes.
And then I totally see Toronto as the game goes on. Toronto will wear them down, and they end up beating them. That's how I think it will go.
There's a lot of good. That's a good thought. That's a good strategy to go with, because you're right. You would think Vancouver could be at its best in the first period. Toronto could be at its most vulnerable and maybe its flattest, I guess you could say, in the first period.
So if you cash that first period, that reverse puck line, then you could easily take, part of that, and go with Toronto money line or even Toronto to score next, as to say if it's a 1-0 lead. So there's many ways.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Good ways to attack that. Yeah.
Yep.
And that's the great thing about this show. We don't just stick to money line and total. We'll talk first periods. We'll talk, props. We'll do a bunch of that here on this show. We'll give you different alternative forms and methods of betting. You don't always have to stick to the standard money line and totals. You can go first period. You can go first goal scorer. You can go with some props. There's different ways to go about trying to make profit. And that's one of the great things about the betting marketplace on a daily basis. Great stuff, great discussion. That's the Thursday NHL card as we've gone through every single game on the board. Before we get to best bets, we'll remind you, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Sign up for an account. You'll get a deposit bonus. You'll get insider deals, exclusive deals. You'll get bet boosts as well in your DraftKings Sportsbook app for certain games. You've got all kinds of incentives if you indeed download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use the promo code THPN. That will get you all of those extra special deals if you use DraftKings. And again, the promo code THPN. All right, great stuff. Best bet time. Let's see what we've got. Lots to choose from with 10 games on this Thursday card. Alex, what have you got for best bet?
We'll go with the Florida Panthers in regulation plus $1.05. Like I said, this is a Nashville team, absolutely struggling, as far as special teams goes. You can't trust their goaltending worth anything. I think Florida's going to be able to get a ton of shots off and should be able to win this one easily. So the Florida Panthers plus 105 in regulation. That's my best bet.
All right, Panthers in regulation. There we go. Florida Panthers in regulation plus 105 for Alex B. Smith. That's my Panthers sound for those of you that aren't watching us right now. Jimmy, what do you think or listening to us, I should say, on the podcast?
Well, I guess that's going to be my first period there with the Vancouver Canucks in the first period reg for the Vancouver Canucks. Give me that. And I'll tell you too, guys, if you want a soccer bet, and I'm not just I'm objective. You guys know I don't bet with my heart. But today, I'm feeling a Liverpool win. It's coming up at 3:15. They're playing Chelsea. They need this. Their season is essentially on the line. So if you want a little extra money before you head into the hockey betting, take the Reds today.
Another one of my soccer guys said both of these teams need the points in that soccer match with Chelsea and Liverpool. So expect a cagey, tight, lower scoring game as well. He likes the under 2.5 goals in that game.
Solid bet too.
As a West Ham United fan, I need a draw in that game, actually. So.
You might get it, man. You might get it.
Yeah, there you go.
What a season. By the way, that's awesome. You're West Ham. They've had a hell of a season. That's
just the fact that they're even close to possibly off ever Champions League is a miracle.
Not a bad year for you, Alex. Your two teams, the Blackhawks, nobody gave them any chance coming in, and they've been a surprise. So, yeah.
No. That's good stuff. It's everything's coming up Alex B right now with his not all of them, but the White Sox coming up. Wow, what a season they've got.
Yeah, I can't wait for baseball.
If they can get some pitching, if they can cobble together Giolito and Keuchel and
Lance
Lynn and some of these guys. Yeah.
I think they might. Yeah, they might be my team I jump on because the other Sox are going to really suck.
You know what's funny? The parallels with the White Sox and Blue Jays. The White Sox and Blue Jays coming into the season are so similar. They're going to beat the tar out of the baseball. Yeah, these lineups of both of these teams are going to be incredible, but can they get pitching? They're starting pitching with both of these teams. That's where the question mark is. So it's going to be fun to see how that goes with baseball. But Alex, a big White Sox fan as well, and obviously expectations raised for them this year. So Florida regulation for Alex. Vancouver -0.5 goal plus 225 in the first period for Jimmy. And my best bet is going to be, I'm going to go with the Philadelphia Flyers here, -120 against the Pittsburgh Penguins. And I was trepidatious about going against the Flyers the other night, first game without Crosby. And sure enough, Pittsburgh rises up. This is a chance for the Flyers to have the response tonight. Again, they're a much healthier hockey team. I think that's going to help them going into this game. They got all their key forwards back for the most part, and I think they have a good performance tonight, bounce back effort against Pittsburgh. We'll go with the Flyers. Philly -120 against Pittsburgh. That is my best bet for this Thursday NHL card, and that'll wrap up this edition of the Ice Guys. A great show. Thanks to everyone for watching us live on YouTube, and if you can't watch us live on YouTube, listen to us by downloading the podcast version of the Ice Guys on all major podcast providers. We're here 7 days a week, giving you every single game in the NHL from a betting perspective. For Alex B. Smith and Jimmy Murphy, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Thursday night. Enjoy the games and good luck. We'll talk to you again tomorrow on Friday for another edition of the Ice Guys presented by the Hockey Podcast Network.